Hi guys, welcome to the session 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 recap. I have a bunch of things I wanted to review after our session today. So, first of all, please excuse me in advance. I'm not going to try to edit this thing. I mean, I might put some minor edits if I happen to say something crazy or inappropriate. I will get those out of there. But mostly it's to get this done and out on the YouTube so that you can benefit from it. I would like you to look at this top to bottom before our next session, which will be session 8. Also, just to note, we are supposed to be advancing to session 9. As I mentioned, we're going to stay at 6, probably at 7 words a minute. So we're going to take a small back step there. We still will have plenty of time to get the target, so don't worry about that. We will finish at 10 words a minute. But after our session today, I think I'm probably pushing a little hard on that. So we're going to go back to 7 words a minute, review some of the basics, and then push forward once you have a little more fluency under your belt. So let's just go ahead and begin with our... Oh my goodness, where did I put that? See, no editing. All right, so let's go ahead to, let's begin with antennas. So there are many types of antennas. The positive about this is that they all start with different letters. So if someone sends you this as an antenna, so there's only one antenna that starts with a V, okay? So you know you peg this as a vertical. Likewise, dipole. It's the only one that begins with a D. And Yagi, which we talked about today, the only one that begins with Y. And we can drill down a little farther into multi-element antennas, gain antennas like the Yagi. So let's take someone who has a 3-element Yagi. We can shorten the 3-element Yagi into just 3L. And that's all people with these antennas will sometimes send. For people that have larger arrays, let's try this. That's a 4-element gain antenna. Oh, a 5-element gain antenna. So be prepared to hear Yagi frequently in the description of antennas, and people can send even more specific descriptions of their antennas by indicating the number of elements. Okay, good. I wanted to review some of the phrases we talked about today and used in our hammerhead drills. So I'd like you to close your eyes and make sure that you're in a calm place. And I will also say that some people learn better if they speak the CW words and letters as they hear them. So you close your eyes so you can get a visual impression of what those letters and words are and speak them at the same time. Everyone has their own learning methods, so I will leave you guys to decide which of those works appropriately for you. I actually close my eyes. That works fine. I still do that right now, actually. All right, so a review. Close your eyes, listen to these phrases. Listen to them more than one time if you need to. These are common phrases in CW operations. Okay, the first one. Hope to see you again. usually sent as part of the uh, end of a QSO, saying thanks for a fine business QSO. Thanks for a great QSO. You'll be surprised how often you'll hear that at the conclusion of a QSO. It's just kind of gotten to be, almost automatic. So that one we should commit to memory. The use of BK. Okay, so you guys already know that this is a pet peeve of mine. So you must learn this well. I have a YouTube discussion about YouTube video that explains exactly how to use that. I'm going to include some of that right now so we get it down. All right, so remember, BK is used to clarify something that the operator said that wasn't very clear. BK means break. It does not mean back or back to you. It means break. And we talked about in our previous session that it is true that this is used incorrectly in a number of different operating situations, like POTA. However, because all languages evolve and this has kind of become common usage, that probably is something that we have to accept. I'm okay with that, as long as it is common usage. All right, so in our situation though, let's take the example of the a station that sends an RST that doesn't make any sense. And the other operator who hears that nonsense, kind of says, wait, did I get that right? So we break the QSO to clarify this. All we're asking of the other station is repeat that RST because it did not make sense to me. And here's the formula that we use for that. We first send BK to the other station, break the QSO. So we've asked a question, what is the RST? Repeat the RST, BK. Okay, that shuttles that back to the other station to respond. The other station sends BK to acknowledge that they've got the question, and they answer whatever it is in as short a format as possible. So RST 599 BK. So they're done answering the question. They send BK to indicate to the other station that here's my answer. I'm giving it back to you. Let's go ahead and look at this in a practical sense. So we're going to take the example of a station that sent their RST and it just didn't make any sense at all. Your RST is 111. So now the QSO goes back to that station that has the RST of 111. That's like, what? There's no such thing as that. So the first thing they say is RST 111 question mark BK. You send it back to the station that sent that nonsense. The other station receives the BK. It's like, okay, I probably better clarify that. So they just give the RST. That's what the other station wants. BK RST is the 599, and then BK again to send it back. And so now the other operator who sent that question to start with, it's like, okay, I finally got the answer to that. They send BK, which in effect splices that QSO back together again. So here's how it's used. An example. I'm sending it back to the other station. It's not a complete exchange. We're going to focus just on the part that involves the error, the RST. So that station, the N3JT, sent an RST that didn't make any sense. All right, so now we are K3MM, and we heard that report. The signal report that the other station gave was 111. It's like, wait a minute, that cannot be right. So we need to clarify that. So first of all, you exchange call signs as you normally would. Okay, so N3JT could even hear when that other station gave that weird call sign that they didn't understand it. So K3MM, astounded that he has a signal report of 111 from N3JT, he says, I have to clarify this. RST 111 question mark BK. Okay, going back to the other station. So in a very short phrase, K3MM just wants clarification on that one item, just the RST. They ask RST 111 question mark BK, sending it back to N3JT just to make sure that they're clear on it. Okay, so at this point, N3JT has already figured out that there's an issue, right? Because they heard a weird call sign coming back from the other station. So K3MM heard 111, and that's not what the signal report says. So BK to send it back to the original station. So K3MM sends BK right to N3JT. N3JT just has to give a short answer. All the first station wants, K3MM, just wants clarification on the RST, and that's it. So here's how the exchange would go. So a short phrase, we don't use any other descriptors with that. You don't repeat the call sign. You don't put a KN on the end of it. It's just BK. You are splicing this bit of information back to the original station. So in this case, N3JT realizes their mistake. They corrected it by just sending that information, the correct RST, and then BK to send it back to K3MM. And so K3MM acknowledges that that's correct by sending BK one more time. So okay, got it. But you can see what I'm talking about here. The way that we use BK is kind of like bracketing the information that is requested. We're splicing that back into the Q cell. So super important to keep that in mind. We are going to be drilling on that in the near future. Okay, Q signs, we need to practice on that just a bit. So let's go to the very top of the list using QSY, which means we need to change frequency. QSY, we need to change frequency. And remember, when that is a request from one station, it means that propagation conditions have deteriorated so much that you can't keep on. The RST might be 229, or they could indicate that there's fading. For some reason, one of the stations says, we have to change. I can't tolerate this. So they send QSY. You always send QSY 3 times, and then the target frequency 3 times. Because remember, the situation, the propagation situation is awful, right? You are hoping that that other station gets the information about, it has to be a QSY and this is where I'm going. Most of the time, that doesn't work. And honestly, when the propagation is that bad, there's so much stuff going on that the frequency often doesn't get through properly and it's gone. But it's worth a try, actually. So, for example, let's say that we'll take those 2 stations from before. So K3MM has decided that it's just too much. So they're going to call N3JT and let them know that we have to change frequency. So we'll be like this. So we added an additional Q sign that we've only hinted to in the past, but it's important. The Q sign QSL question mark, which means did you copy all that? Did you get everything? So the formula is identify the two stations, indicate that we need to change frequency by sending QSY 3 times to make sure that conditions are awful, right? So you want to make sure the other station is copying that. And you send the target frequency 3 times as well. Now, a reasonable question would be, all right, so how do you know which frequency to go to? And the answer is sometimes you don't. You might have your other VFO kind of listening to that 40-meter frequency, or you might not. When you go to the target frequency, you're going to abandon this one and go to 40 meters in this case. If there happens to be someone on that channel, don't worry about it, because both you guys can kind of cruise around looking for each other off the target frequency just a little bit. So you get there, you find that someone is already on that. 7015 is occupied. It's okay, maybe go 10 kilohertz above or below. The other station that is going to be following you, they will know this, and they'll kind of cruise around to find you. And then we follow with QSL. QSY, go to this frequency. QSL, did you get this information? QSL. And the response should be a simple QSL, and that's it. That's all you need. Then both you guys end up going to the other frequency, and hopefully you'll be able to meet up again. Fingers are crossed. All right, so QRN is interference from a non-human source, like there's a generator or something, or alternator, or you're hearing a 60 cycle buzz. For whatever reason, there's something out there that is not caused by a person directly. It is a machine or otherwise generated signal. QRM is either intentional or unintentional interference from another station. For instance, they may not be able to hear you because their antenna isn't right, or for whatever reason, so they start calling CQ right on top of your signal. So you would indicate to that station that there's QRM. Probably more important to just notify the other station that there's QRM. Maybe the interfering station doesn't hear you anyway. So just you guys make sure that you QSY, and it might be just a few kilohertz, just enough to get out of the way of the interfering station. So QRM is human-caused interference, either malicious or unintentional, and QRN is for non-human sources, 60 cycle buzz. I guess you could say QRN, QR non-human. That might be a good way to remember that. Okay, a quick review of calling CQ. So CQ has a general formula that we accept. You send CQ 3 times, your call sign twice, and then we end with K. There is a type of operator out there, or perhaps a type of operating technique that can sometimes be a little hard to negotiate, and that is the operator who just keeps sending CQ. The problem with this, imagine they're sending CQ. It goes on for 30 seconds. They may then indicate who they are and send K, or I've seen operators that they just keep going with CQ. All right, so what they are hoping is that there are stations out there that they're listening to their CQ call sign, and they're just waiting for that operator to stop with the CQ signs and end with K, and then they'll jump right in. Okay, the truth of the matter is that nobody has that kind of patience. Let's say in our example, N3JT is the station, sending CQ, and me, KF7WX, is like, oh, I can't wait here because that N3JT is just going on and on. Operators that send these long strings of CQs will actually get few bytes on their system because people just can't wait. Contrast that to using the standard formula, CQ 3 times your call sign twice, and leaving a few seconds for another station to jump in. That's the way to go, right? Because you allow a station who's kind of out there to get right into to the QSO and then answer it. If another station is sending just the string of CQs, there isn't enough room to jump in there, so you got to wait till they're done. And who has patience for that? Not me. So, so that's a point to keep in mind, that you send CQ 3 times and your station twice, and then send K and you listen. Don't send a whole bunch of those. Okay, so I got to add one thing. I had a student once tell me that they were kind of just getting on the air, and they said, I send CQ 3 times, and then I hope nobody answers. No, that's the wrong way to think about it. Send CQ for a minute. Give it a good solid minute before you decide that you want to pull out or change a different frequency or a different band. So the rule is you just send CQ for about a minute, and then go to another frequency or another band. And just a reminder, that band that you have selected to call CQ, there may be people who are already calling CQ. So listen first before you call. It might save you a step. All right, so DX operations, we discussed this briefly today, and I think we probably should review briefly how to engage in a DX operation. Typically these tend to be very short, right? Just the facts. The other station wants to make sure that they have your call sign correct, so they can get you in their logbook, and vice versa. So they tend to send very quickly, and it is very short, often just a couple CW words. So for an example, 3Y0J. CQ in their call sign, they give it once. So those 2 words are all you get. So, and they typically send it fast as well. But remember, you're sitting there in your chair listening. You can listen for them to do that as many times as you want to until you get their call sign correct. And your response to that is just send your call sign once. The DX station will pick that up. They repeat your call sign to make sure that they have it correct, and they send the fake signal report of 599. At the end of the RST report, it's back to you. And at that point, all you send is your fake RST. It's always 599. So that's all you have to send. The DX station acknowledges that by thanking you, and then they go right back into their CQ. That's it. So they end by very briefly thanking you, TU, and then you go right back to calling CQ. Expect that these operations are going to be very quick. And be sure that the other station has repeated your call sign. If they don't, if they send back a call sign that's off by a digit or 2, make sure you correct them by sending DE, your call sign, and then 599. So let's go ahead and take the example of this kind of exchange, and please forgive me for not being able to use different tones for this. All I got is the one tone here. The other station, sent just once and just the call sign, no can or anything else. Okay, now the remote station repeats your call sign and gives a fake signal report. No K or KN. I mean, you wouldn't want to put a K there anyway, but all you do is just give the signal report. The DX station rather gives the signal report. And you acknowledge that by just sending a fake signal report and nothing else. The other station will thank you and go right back on with the call. there's variations of that too. Some operators will send thank you as well. There's list a few of those so you can kind of see those for just so you can expect those in different operating circumstances. Okay, so I think at this point I'm going to move right ahead to some phrases. These are commonly encountered phrases in the CW language. We should recognize these as complete units of words because they're encountered so frequently. All right, so close your eyes. Speak these as I'm sending them to you. Let me give you an example of a station that is using QSY properly. So remember, QSY is all about repetition. So in this case, a station has decided to abandon the frequency, and they are giving a target frequency along with their exchange. So ending with QSL, which is a request for confirmation that the other station got all that information. So the target frequency sent 3 times, QSL question mark. Did you get that? Did you get all of it? You'd expect the other station to send QSL if they did, and then you both depart the frequency and head to 40 meters. Okay. So probably at this time, I'm going to send some practice QSO material. And what I would like you guys to do is sit down and don't write any of this stuff down. Head copy everything. So if you have to listen to it a few times, that's fine. Maybe 2 or 3 times even. It is directed to a specific student. So kind of like we do in class. Okay, here we go. By the way, try to copy all these. It could be something I would ask you during session 9. Next victim. Okay, so last thing is to review our Prosigns. So I used some of them in the examples. Let's go ahead and review them quickly. Hold on. Hold on means exactly that. You don't do anything when the other station sends AS. You sit back and just wait for them to come back. They will return. So remember this, it's about the same meaning as a grammatical period. We use it because it's just a little easier to send. And as your technique improves and your words per minute speed increases, you find yourself using that a lot less. SK means you will be sending no further information. This QSO is over. Contrast that to QRT, which means you're shutting your station down. Big difference. SK is used by practically all operators at the end of a QSO. AR is used at the end of the exchange prior to the call sign handshake, and it means pretty much the same thing as KN does. So done with the QSO, sending it back to you, QSO rather, pardon me, done with the exchange and sending it back to you, and the same as KN, but it just sounds nice. That's why we all continue to use it. All right, I think this is the end of our recap here. It's a lot of information that I threw at you guys. So, and I'm going to give a quick recap to the recap. So remember our Q signs. We actually listed the most critical, QSY, change frequency, QSL. Did you copy everything? You give information and you send QSL at the end, and you expect the other station to send QSL back. There is something that you can use instead, and that's our shortest word in CW, just the letter C. Did you get everything? And the response would be, I did. Yes. So QRL, of course, the Q sign we use to clear the frequency before we send CQ. QRN is interference by non-human sources, like 60 cycle buzz or that kind of stuff. QRM is interference by a station, either unintentional or otherwise, that interferes with the QSO. And also remember that DX operations tend to be very quick. We often do not use the typical grammar, often don't use KN, sometimes don't even use DE. It's just the facts for that. And antennas, recall that the antennas that are out there are unique because each one has its own starting letter. V is vertical, D is dipole, Z is ZEP, which we don't talk about too much. People have those. It's a monoband long wire, ZEP. It's the only one that begins with a Z. And Y for Yagi, the only one that begins with a Y. Now, I went ahead and reviewed some basic QSO fragments today, and I'm going to attach the CWA specific files, which are also short QSO fragments, but a bit different, just to give you a little bit of practice, additional practice. Keep in mind that some of these QSO fragments have errors that are actually built into them, and we use those for discussion points at upcoming lectures. So congratulations, everybody. You made it through the midpoint, so we now race down to the end of our class, which is 8 sessions away. Again, make sure that you're following the lessons in the practice guide. And be sure to check out all of the files that are also listed in the practice guide. So 73s, everybody, thanks for your patience. I see I've used almost as much time on this video presentation as I have on the actual lecture today. So you get kind of a double dose of herder. All right, 73 guys, we will see you in a couple days.